Johannes Vermeer is one of the most famous Dutch painters of the Golden Age. His youth and years of studying are full of mystery, and we don't know that much about his everyday life and how his artistic talent was formed. What first strikes you is Vermeer's incredibly realistic painting technique, particularly his skill in depicting light, how it gives shape and volume to objects and make textiles seem to sparkle. But Vermeer's art is like an ice-covered lake, where hidden life lurks beneath a deceptively cool and crystalline surface. Within the artist's visual reality is another dimension, an invisible reality of ideas spoken in the language of symbols. Today, we will review 5 paintings and reveal their symbolic secrets. Vermeer was 25 years old when he painted Girl Reading a Letter by an Open Window. At the hub of this artwork is the silent tranquility of the woman's absorption in reading. Generations of art lovers have admired the painting's exquisite rendering of artifacts and human character. And yet one detail purposefully breaks this perfect illusion. The green curtain that covers a fifth of the composition is suspended by a rail and brass rings. In the Dutch Republic of the 17th century, paintings were frequently covered with curtains to protect them, and Vermeer seems to have included it as an illusionistic trick of the eye, tempting us to reach out and draw it aside. It also recalls a story, described in Pliny the Elder's Natural History. It tells of 2 artists, Zeuxis and Parrhasius, who had a competition to judge the better painter. Zeuxis created a still life where the grapes were so realistic that when the painting's covering was removed, birds flew down to eat them. When Zeuxis tried to unveil Parrhasius's painting, he was astounded to discover that its covering was actually painted on. Vermeer's curtain is an allusion to this renowned story, to symbolize his skill and force us to question art's exploration of illusion and reality. The room is cold and humble, with damp spots on the wall and a cracked window pane. The maid is doing one of the lowest activities imaginable, making bread pudding from stale loaves and milk. However, the footwarmer at the bottom right-hand corner ingeniously transfigures the image's meaning, making it much more than a document of daily life. Footwarmers were designed to encase hot coals and were placed under women's skirts whilst they worked at home in the winter months. In Vermeer's painting, the footwarmer sits in front of a blue-painted tile depicting the love god Cupid and his arrow of desire. This combination of symbols had a specific meaning to a Dutch audience in the 17th century. In genre paintings, footwarmers symbolized lust because they inflamed the body's lower regions. They were often shown in combination with other euphemistic objects, such as empty jugs, to represent the sexual availability of milkmaids and female servants. In Vermeer's painting, the symbols of passion are present, but everything else suggests the woman's respectability. She is looking away from us, her body is shrouded in heavy garments, and she faces away from the symbols of prurience towards her domestic chores. A young woman is watching a set of weighing scales gradually settle their equilibrium in a noiseless, curtain-drawn room. The objects on the table suggest that she is about to value the worth of various coins and pearls, but the presence of a painting hanging directly behind her suggests a more profound unfolding of events. Her head obscures most of the painting, but its exposed upper section reveals Christ in judgment. In this painting, Jesus is doing what the woman is doing, except his work is deliberating souls on Judgment Day. Vermeer was intensely religious, and he encrypted several of his artworks with symbols of spirituality. He lived in the devoutly Protestant Dutch Republic, but was a Catholic convert, and the scales might be an allusion to his minority faith. The Jesuit founder Saint Ignatius of Loyola had advised that good Catholics should weigh up their sins against their goodness when they pray, "I must rather be like the equalized scales of a balance ready to follow the course, which I feel is more for the glory and praise of God, our Lord, and the salvation of my soul." Girl with a pearl earring seems like another image of a fleeting, naturalistic moment. It is an example of a trony, a Dutch genre of art that shows an unnamed figure in an interesting costume. Her headgear was intended to show her as an exotic or ancient character, and her pearl to convey spiritual purity or earthly beauty. Her jacket is made of an iridescent fabric that seems to be gray-blue in shadowy areas and gold in direct light. In Vermeer's day, the representation of fine material was of special interest to collectors, who rated painters by their ability to evoke them in art. Vermeer's father worked in the fabric trade, giving the artist an early understanding of the beauty and significance of precious cloth. Vermeer's model is also decorated with the 3 primary colors that are the bedrock of a painter's craft: red lips, and clothing of yellow and blue. In Vermeer's painting, the young woman, painted with an open mouth and gazing directly at us to enhance her desirability, is turning as if to disappear into the darkness. Is she an embodiment of art itself, whose perfect ideals are always tantalizingly out of reach? Vermeer's religious faith is most forcefully expressed in his painting, The Allegory of Faith. The protagonist is a personification of Catholicism, and her appearance and gestures have been translated as a figure denoting faith. But the glass sphere above his head is not found in symbology books, and it took scholars decades to figure out what it meant. In 1975, art historian Eddie de Jong discovered the emblem in a book entitled Sacred Emblems of Faith, Hope and Charity. It was accompanied by a motto: "It captures what it cannot hold." A short verse in the book explains that the orb is like the human mind. In its panoramic reflections, the vast universe can be shown in something small. If it believes in God, nothing can be larger than that mind. The orb symbolizes the mind's interaction with God. It might be added that all of Vermeer's paintings are also like the orb, capturing passing events and ideas on their flat surfaces and sealing them for posterity. In Vermeer's scenes, time appears to freeze in the crystalline sunlight, and silence descends like a dead weight. But a vivacious world of symbols pulses beneath the surface, perennially relevant ideas about art, desire, materialism, and spirituality, captured by Vermeer and lying in wait for discovery.